welcome to the Easily Excitable podcast. My name is Top, and with me this week is Russell. Hey man, how's it going?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thank you very much for having me on, good sir.
You're welcome. It's fine. And yeah, recently there's been stuff going on, mainly across the pond in Austin, Texas. Um,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
this event I
a
think
little
a
thing.
few of us have maybe heard of,
hmm
RTX, I think it's called.
Yeah,
Just a small convention, just a couple of hundred thousand people or whatever over a few
yeah.
days. Just a small thing.
Nice. So you went this year. This is the first year. Like I've been the previous 3 years. Always as an attendee, but this year you went as a guardian.
Yeah, so this is my third year going in a row, but as you said, first year as Guardian, I did standard admission, I did VIP last year, and I did
Mhm,
Guardian this year to kind of, in my head, finish off my like trifecta of RTX experience. Like this
mhm.
is kind of everything you can experience. And probably unsurprisingly to the people who have Guardian before, but this is my favorite weekend that I've actually been there. It's
Nice.
it's a completely kind of like different experience. Yes, you kind of meet some of the talent and stuff like that, but you bond with like the other Guardians that are in your team and that and like that, and you make friends doing that. Like you obviously kind of you've chatted to some of these people before online when you go on your teams or there's a Discord chat, so you kind of get to do that, and it's great to just make some more friends in the world. I don't think you can ever like not do, or it's not good to do that. It's great to kind of meet other people and get the chance to just discuss things and from different people's points of view. But uh, yeah, that was fantastic, and to be honest, it was the most smooth RTX I think there's ever been. I think
Yeah.
uh, in the Guardian debrief, uh, Bethany said if everybody here right now, to like the 550 of us, was to take a shit on the convention floor right now, it would still be the smoothest RTX there's ever been. So we didn't get that like huge one Uber issue that has kind of popped up each of the last major year. So that
Yeah.
meant made our lives as Guardians a lot simpler, and it meant that we didn't have that 2 hour or 1 day thing where everybody is kind of going like, what's going on? You need to do that. There's a few
Yeah.
minor things, like a couple of the bigger podcasts are always like they're a bit of a bum rush to try and get to their seats, but
Yeah.
I don't think many of them could be handled much better.
Mhm. Yeah, from what I've heard, and yeah, just chatting to people in general that went, it was the best organized one of the bunch so far, and it all went smoothly. I heard no complaints about it being crazy. I was initially very skeptical about the fact that the queuing to get into the convention center was on the outside of the convention center.
Yep, I
Um,
100% was with you. I thought this is going to be very interesting. Uh, but effectively, you had four entry points. At
mhm,
three of those four entry points, there were six metal detectors,
mhm,
and at one there was two, which was like the one back out between like the Fairmont and so over like the Sky Bridge, so much smaller entrance that not many people were going to use. And
mhm,
effectively, at the start of the morning, they were all available, and then like throughout the day, when it was just more in and out, most of them went down to like two or three
mhm.
to get people in or out. And I think it worked. It was fairly simple. Uh, but it was well thought out in advance. I think they tried to deal with the issues. I still think there was a couple more issues like internally, like they had more security once again to go in for like the autograph section.
Yeah,
So there was a little bit of like queuing around with that, and a little bit of on the first day where the security people didn't turn up till 12 o'clock, which is when like the starting of the first signing was. When it's like,
mhm,
well, actually, they probably should have been there like half an hour before, so you could get a load of people through, so
yeah,
you don't have a big queue starting to happen, which it did happen. And then when you get a big queue, people start to go, "Ooh, what's this queue for?" And it's like, it's for an autograph. It's like this is the only thing for the entire weekend which will guarantee you if you get this here and you are in the queue, you will get to kind of go to them. But it's just you
yeah,
as guardians, you end up having to intercept people to go like, "Ooh, there's a queue. Should I queue?"
yeah.
I like to think, "Oh, is this must be the queue for the Ruby panel?" And I'm just like, "The Ruby panel's not for 4 hours. No, this is not a queue for that."
Oh no, crazy. How was it all laid out? Was the like event floor where there were like stalls and everything bigger than it has been in previous years?
I compared to the last year, I would have said it's pretty much exactly the same size. I think the
Okay.
layout in the Austin Convention Center was exactly the same as it had been last year. So
Mhm.
you had the center stage area, uh, and then the expo floor area. You had Hall 2, which was effectively then the queuing to get into Hall 1.
Mhm.
The autographs were further around in the same place, as
Yeah.
so well as was kind of like the Platinum VIP lounge and like the staff lounge further
Mhm.
around. So that was all the same similar sort of rooms that were used on third and fourth level. I think the thing this year was obviously there was more stuff over in the Fairmount because you've now got the sky bridge that can go between, and because the
Mhm.
Hilton was having some refurbishments. So
Mhm.
there was only two of those being used on that
Okay.
side. But and then obviously there was stuff over at the JW Marriott. But
Cool.
it went relatively well. The added complication this year really was around the live ticketed events.
Mhm.
So there were ones that were going to take part in the evenings, also in the convention center.
Yeah.
So there was a kind of we have to get everybody out
Yeah. Before you can let people back
before we
in,
can
right?
start to let people back in, and it was more like, well, we'll let everybody out, but we're going to let you back in now only via like one of the entrances.
Okay.
So for Let's Play Live, that meant that there was a fairly long queue, kind of like around the convention center,
Mhm.
but it didn't take long. I think well, like probably like 25, 30 minutes for most people to queue to get in,
Mhm.
and nobody missed like the start. I was kind of
Okay.
helping out with that, so kind of got towards the end, and it'd just be like when it like started, it was like people were just like walking straight through the detectors to get in. So
Yeah.
they timed that one just about right. I think the only one which was maybe kind of got wrong, which they didn't work out what to do, was on the spot.
Mhm.
So that's traditionally been like a later uh, panel,
Mhm.
but they were undetermined whether they wanted to kind of. It wasn't ticketed, so they didn't know whether they wanted to turn people back outside and kick everybody out and let them come in. So that was the only one that was probably slightly mismanaged. I think people were
Okay.
undetermined what to do it because it was later than everything else, but it wasn't a ticketed event. So it's
Mhm.
just a minor issue that they probably need to work out whether how they want to do it going forward. Either pull it earlier and make it the same as everything else, or put it later and make it ticketed, but it can still be free. But just so you have the
Yes.
tickets, just to make sure that you can process it all at a
Mhm.
at a better speed.
Do you think the convention? No, that wouldn't make any sense. But do you think it would be better if they did events in the evening, like Let's Play Live on the spot, and they included admission to one of those in the price of the weekend ticket?
Um, there is a question for that. I think what you do is it then gets the same as like autographs, where you can't guarantee
Right.
that because of like the number of tickets that are available to those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So like Let's Play Live, that was I'd probably say a couple of thousand with tops maybe in that area, and the main
Yeah.
panel area where they do the or one is maybe only like 3,500. So
Hmm.
there are more tickets sold than that. So
Yes.
you
Yeah.
have you can't guarantee it, but having said that, if it was like one, you have a ticket to a an evening event included, and it's your choice to pick it up and do it as you like,
Yeah.
that could be good. But you do
Hmm.
leave yourself at the mercy of the people who aren't slightly up to date with everything, and they miss out on their ticket, and then they get upset by the fact that they missed out on their ticket because they thought they were going to get it. So I don't know whether you add more grief than you potentially gain
Hmm.
by giving people that extra ticket.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. How were the like outside of the convention hours? What kind of stuff did you get up to? What kind of fun places did you go and eat? Because everyone knows that Austin's a city of food.
Uh, yeah, well, it's really quite interesting, kind of like when you on the days that I was a guardian, I
Hmm.
ate like really badly, like breakfast tacos,
Hmm.
like pizzas, and then like uh uh I either went to like some either like taco places or went to like Frank's in the evening. So
Hmm.
there are great food places. I didn't travel down to Home Slice this time. Really kind of stayed more like the central areas. So
Hmm.
did Ironworks for some barbecue. Yeah, as I said, did Frank's for the that. Did a bit of Gus's fried chicken to hit their other places, and then just otherwise there was a we were staying in like the apartments that are almost like right next to the
Yeah.
convention center.
The railway
There's like
lines.
a taco place, like right breakfast taco place right there. So that
Oh,
was kind of
nice.
almost like breakfast and lunch.
Mhm.
So ate badly, and then in the evenings it was a mixture of kind of you go out drinking for a bit. The few days beforehand were great, catching up with like the Guardians had like meetups. So well, yeah, there's pretty standard places. Like went for some foodie donuts, then went into like billiards and Shakespeare
Mhm.
to kind of like to go for a few bevs. During the actual days when you're gardening,
Mhm.
you're on your feet a lot,
Oh,
and by the end of the day, and especially with the people that I was staying with, we had a couple of beers like in our place, and that was probably us kind of like done for the day, to be perfectly
mhm.
honest.
Fair enough.
But we got a good system going. There was like a little pool, so we would kind of at the end of the day we would kind of have a couple of beers, sit in the pool, and then kind of go grab some food and just chill out and get ready for the next day. Uh,
Ah, right.
I was on responses, so was a few of the people I was staying with. So you're in at 7 a.m.
Ooh.
effectively
Mhm.
on the days. So and especially on the Saturday, which had the on the spot, that was like a 7 till 7 day. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
Nice.
I'm an individual who's kind of like happy to like walk around and do stuff. I'm a fairly active individual, so there's no like harm in doing that for me as an individual, but it does take a lot out of you.
Yeah. Mhm. Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, yeah, Austin's a cool city. Are you gonna do it again, or
I
do you think
might.
that
This
you're
is
done
this
with
is
Texas?
this is the thing when I think I said it to you on here probably one of the last times I was completing
Yeah.
my trifecta of kind of saying like that was my Austin experience kind of like
Yeah,
done
maybe you won't go
probably.
again. Is what
I,
you'd settled on last time, but like this conversation is highlighting some things.
yeah, I really had like some good fun. I made like a good couple of like of new friends that kind of like still chatting to. So kind of like it's kind of up in the arms. I have big plans to go to Japan next year, so
Hmm.
that's like 3 weeks of my holiday already taken up. So
Okay.
if I do this, it's kind of and I then go to Austin as well. It's then I want to go to the States for something else next year, so it maybe I might just tack that all into one like holiday. So kind of take 2 weeks off and do a flying visit into Austin and kind of go back out and do what the other things they want to do in the States. But it
Hmm.
is logistically it's becoming interesting, but I did enjoy it enough that I might want to do it again.
Ah, fair enough. Fair enough.
But we'll see if I think sadly the proximity of RTX London this year means that they're not that far apart, so I won't kind of feel like I'll get my fix that I need again soon. It'll be like I've had those two fixes within the space of like 2 months, and then
Yeah.
it's like I need more.
Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, RTX London's coming up. You are guardianing for that as well.
Yep, gardening for that
Okay.
as well. Response again, so that is something all to look forward to. The schedules came out the other day.
Yes, I saw
Looks,
them posted on the Reach site. I think it was
yep,
yesterday. It might have, they
looks.
might have come out like the end of last week. I don't really know.
No, I think they only went
Um,
out either yesterday or the
I
day
think
before. But
yeah.
yeah, they look fairly similar-ish to last year. Like there's still
Hmm.
only like 3 panel rooms.
Yeah.
You've got 3 autograph things happening at the same time, so that all screams that kind of there's maybe not that much being added in that department.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it'll be interesting because obviously that's great. But there are the main ones that people are going to want to go to. So
Yeah.
I would hope to have seen that the scale and the seating arrangements has been approved on our last year, but
Yeah.
where they will show those things. But we will wait and see that. And I would hope that the Expo 4 is improved upon on last year because I think if it wasn't for the Nintendo Switch area that they had last year, it probably would have
Yeah.
been a pretty kind of barren Expo floor, to be
Ah, right.
perfectly honest.
Hmm. Fair enough. Fair enough. I went to the NEC over the weekend. Um, to see it was Insomnia 63 going on.
Yep.
Gaming convention. I actually only went to see the WWE UK NXT like tapings that were on,
Ah,
and I'm like, this is awesome.
yeah,
But I haven't really spent any time actually in the NEC. I've been to a lot of concerts at the NEC as like
yep,
the NEC. So it's actually been at the arena that's next to it. But the convention center itself is fantastic. I
yeah.
think arguably it's uh better than the XL, but people like the idea of London way more than Birmingham, even though like the transport to Birmingham is pretty decent and it's
Yeah, I
quite
think
central to the
the issue
country as
you
well.
have
But
is
we've already discussed locating things in Birmingham versus London. But
no, and I
yeah,
think a lot of people would. There's a lot of British people that would probably would agree with you that actually it's kind of it's a easier one for a lot of people to get to. I think the issue you have if you go NEC compared to going going with the Excel Centre in London
mhm.
is you're not close to Birmingham. Like,
No, you're probably a 20-minute drive from there if you've got private transport.
yeah, and then the public transport to get to it is okay,
Hmm.
but I think you have a lot of people using that in and out, so that could become very busy. Like with the Excel Centre, kind of it is well serviced by that,
Yeah.
and the proximity to the rest of London means that not only can the people who are attending go and do other stuff in London, the people
Hmm.
who are actually showing things can be exhibitors can go and do other things in London. Like obviously people can say I've got a London bias because I live in
Yeah.
London, but but I've lived in like in the Midlands for quite a vast majority of my life. I've been to the NEC a lot of times. I agree, it's a great convention centre.
Hmm.
I think I think if RT had not had the experience of Excel, they may have thought about it.
Hmm.
But from pretty much everybody I've spoken to, their plan was nigh on always going to be London
Yeah.
because it actually London is a hub for Rooster Teeth fans. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
it I don't know how easier or harder it is to get to Birmingham compared to London if you are outside the country. I know a lot of like you've got Gatwick, Heathrow, Stansted, and City
Yeah.
airports all there, so you've got a lot more flights and a lot more flexibility
Hmm.
for individuals to travel to and from it from outside the country.
Yeah.
And
You've
I think,
also got Birmingham Airport, which is actually where the NEC is. So
yeah, no, I
that's
agree.
also like insane proximity to it. But there's also hotels surrounding the NEC as well. It's also cheaper because it's Birmingham, not London. But
Yep.
that also plays into it. But yeah. Anyway, we're talking hypotheticals that don't matter.
Yeah, because site's been chosen. I think they have, or Rooster Teeth have experience using their venue, and so
Mhm.
if RTX London is going to continue and going to continue to grow,
Mhm.
it is a venue where it can be done.
Yeah.
It is easily a venue where they could grow tenfold if they wanted to. I think you could house something the same size as what they do for the Austin RTX, even
Mhm.
bigger. You could go probably twice, if not three times the size of what they have right now in Austin, just using the Excel Center if you wanted to. But Rooster Teeth's never going to get to that size until if unless it starts to do a become like a PAX or a or a San Diego Comic Con where it starts to become almost more than just Rooster Teeth stuff at the
Yes.
convention.
Although they are starting to branch out to that, aren't they? Or they're really building up their network of content creators,
Yeah,
and
and
they are
that helps
getting
for
really
like for
close.
especially for RTX Austin to have a lot of simultaneous things going on that kind of can pull everybody's attention into different directions. So you could be if you are into like the Let's Play family sort of individual, you can there are couch up things, there are Checkpoint 7 stuff, there's I mean, you then get like kind of funny, you get some of the other ones that kind of aren't even that like affiliated, so you get like Mega 64 and that and all of those added in, and then you get the animation side as well, so they have the animation festival
Yeah.
out there. I think that's something which I would have liked to see them brought across to the UK. I think there's just like what like an animation festival panel like in the UK.
Hmm.
I thought that's something that maybe they could have done if they wanted to kind of add something else into the schedule. But
Hmm. Yeah.
it's I understand it is a logistical not nightmare, but it is a very large logistical undertaking to organize not only getting the individuals over required to do things, but actually getting the technology and the materials over for them to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah. Hmm. Um, you said Sugar Pine 7, and that reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up briefly. In that James Buckley put up a video. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a video of him doing a Sugar Pine 7 style video where he ends up at the Sugar Pine offices, and it is brilliant. It is hilarious,
No,
and I'm just like, oh, this is brilliant.
I've
This
not
is wicked.
seen that. Or that
I
might
think
be
it came
something.
out I think it came out on Sunday. So
Oh, okay. I might have
if you
to.
haven't seen it, like it's real new. It's real good.
I might have to catch that. Yeah, the Sugar Pine guys and gals were not the Guardians' best friends by the end of the weekend. This year, their continuance to attempt to vape indoors when it
Uh-huh.
was quite annoying.
Yeah.
I do, although it was slightly amusing for all the Guardians that Demon Subtic lost his camera. It's like 2000, like a very expensive kind of like video camera. When I say lost, he basically left it in like a convention hall, which meant it got picked up by the Guardians and they like held on to it. And then he like tried to well, he didn't ransom. He said, "I'll give a 2,000 reward to anybody who can get it back to me." And like all the Guardians, but kind of half of them going like, I know where it is. Can I have the £2,000? Obviously, we we didn't do that, but it was kind of like the joke between all the Guardians of like, I have possession of the camera now. I'm going to get my $2,000 reward. But
Crazy,
yeah,
crazy.
there were a few pests, especially I think the poor individual who was their PA.
Oh, they
Probably
only have
spent.
one, don't they? Because they're a group.
Yeah, they only had one PA. I think the same as like the cow drop guys. They only have like
Oh, I
one
feel
PA.
sorry for that PA. Those PAs, like, oh god, sounds
Yeah,
miserable.
I think
Crazy.
it's more like you have like the child effect of, well, they know the PA can only look after one of us, so if we all split off in different directions, then they can't
Yeah,
control all of us.
yeah, yeah. Ah,
But yeah, you live and learn from all of these things.
ah.
I know. I definitely heard Bethany giving a couple of them a large ticking off for their behaviour.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I don't know
fair.
whether that just goes in one ear and out the other. But
Fair enough. Did you hear anything about Funhouse or anything? I'm realizing this. Like, we've said a lot about a lot of the different groups, but like, I've not heard anything about Funhouse at all. And I'm just like, Funhouse still exists because I temporarily forget that they exist, and then suddenly I'm just like, I have so much content to catch up on. Ooh.
yeah, so the weird thing with Funhouse was like so Let's Play Live was before like was done on the Thursday evening
Hmm.
before the the whole like RTX weekend, and for the Funhouse bit they did a skit where they all dressed up in Dragon Ball Z costumes and like played Dragon Ball like Fighter like Chronicles Fighter X or whatever it is, whatever the
Hmm.
latest kind of like ludicrous Dragon Ball Z game is, and uh, Alana was with them, and it was kind of
Hmm.
just like, that's kind of cool. It's obviously like she may just be helping out because she's like going to be in town because of like she'll probably be here catching up with Blaine. And then
Hmm.
like a day later or 2 days later, whatever at the panel, they were just like, and now Alana is part of Funhouse, and it was
Hmm.
just like, oh, I kind of yeah, saw her doing all the stuff with them. That makes a lot more sense now that it wasn't just kind of like a just roping in the random individual. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's the content that I still watch the most out of anything
Yeah.
that's left in Rooster Teeth, just because it's edited generally. So
Yeah.
it means that it's a 10-minute, 15-minute video instead of uh, an hour-long video, which probably I'm left with just the GTA's on the Achievement Hunter side, which I'll still watch. And
Yeah,
they
I'm
have,
on GTA's and Minecraft. At the moment, I'm also watching the golf hits that are coming out
yeah,
because they're quite
the
amusing.
For Honor stuff,
Yeah,
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 are generally amusing for like a bit of beep.
yeah.
But no, well, to be fair, I will say for Achievement Hunter, the last few GTA's that they've put out have been pretty like top notch. They've gone back to like fucking about with
Yeah.
like some of the new
Yep.
stuff and the
Yep.
stuff with the blimps
Hmm.
or with the
Oh,
mugger
the
bob,
drones.
the
Oh,
drones
the
and the mugger
drones trying to run
bobbing
along. Run away.
and the bobbing for muggers, which kind of
Yeah.
basically just didn't work at all. But like those ones, just they create content from kind of just messing around, and I personally think that most of those videos are better than the ones where they'll play a set of maps or they almost go in with a this is exactly what we're attempting to do, more like let's just try this and see what happens.
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen, but like the for Funhouse, they've actually switched it up now. So there are the NSFW versions of Wheelhouse slash
Oh,
demo disc
oh,
available
I didn't know
on the
that.
site as
On the
well.
Lucy
So
site. Oh, nice.
on the RT site, you get to see all that Rule 34
Oh no,
fun
I
if
will
you want.
stick to YouTube. Oh.
It's just like I just go like, oh, I'll see, and it's just like, oh, what the fuck? It's just like I think I might go back to the edited versions to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Ah, crazy. Um, yeah, kind of missed a segue that we could have taken, but um, Rooster Teeth announced that they are going to not hold an RTX, but instead do some Let's Play lives in Sydney in place of RTX Sydney. Or no, more accurately, they're going to do a Let's Play live tour around Australia rather than doing an RTX Sydney again, which is interesting, I'll say.
Yeah, well, obviously, we don't know the full details. As far as I was aware, they had kind of like some sort of like licensing agreement with I can't remember the name of the company that does like all does like the
Merchandise.
Paxes and the Supernovas out there.
Oh, okay.
So I think they had agreement with them and what they were doing. So I don't know if they've had some issues with that or they just determined that it wasn't a viable option to do like every year.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know to doing the tour like that is great for people who like the Let's Play side of the company
Mhm.
because if they're gonna do a tour, they'll probably do like Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, maybe go as far as Brisbane. I don't know. They probably won't go across the other side of the country to Perth just because that's not really you're not going to drive
So
that to be
far
perfectly
away.
honest. Um, so you may get 3 or 4 out there,
Mhm.
and that's great for those sorts of people because a few different people will get to see that. But obviously, for the individuals who are into it more for Ruby and the Rooster Teeth side, it's going to be slightly disappointing because you're not going to get the chance to see those guys or have the Q and A's. So,
Yeah.
but we also don't know. There's another place that has almost been confirmed, but we don't know where that is.
Oh,
Obviously,
yeah.
at RTX, all the dirty rumors were whether it's like Toronto or somewhere in Canada or whether it's
Mhm.
like Japan or
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we don't know where
Interesting.
that new one will be. And if that becomes the case, whether they'll do some sort of rotation instead of a
Mhm.
having kind of like instead of
Yeah.
having like 3 RTXs every year, they'll have RTX Austin and the RTX abroad, and it will be like a rotated system where it'll be like, hey, this year's the Australia one, next year will be the UK one, the year afterwards will be the wherever the next one is. I don't know.
Yeah, and in place they'll put something in like a Let's Play live tour or a what other shows could they do? Theater mode or I don't know. That's a challenge.
Yeah, like they don't really have any other kind of like production stuff that could work the same. Like
Yeah.
they've got the Let's Play live door down to an art now where they know what they want to do.
Yeah.
Um, I will say it was an interesting experience watching Let's Play live.
Hmm.
I think the interstitial bits between actually them playing the games were the
Hmm.
funniest aspects of Let's Play Live, as far as I'm concerned. Like
Okay.
because when you watch it live and how it's kind of like presented is obviously they're all at the front and they have their own screens like in front of their uh, like computers that they're on. But once you're a certain way back, you've got to look at like the big screens at the top, and they'll
Yeah.
generally show 2, maybe 3 views at the same time.
Okay.
So you can kind of see what's going on, but it's down to the editor or the people who are working on it to switch to the right channel so you can see what's going on. And kind of worked for some. For me, it kind of didn't work for others. But
Fair enough.
the interstitial stuff they did, some of it was absolutely fantastic. They
Hmm.
had Lindsay. Uh, I can't remember the song now. It was a Miley Cyrus song. I think it was Wrecking Ball.
Hmm.
But she basically came out and danced and sang to Wrecking Ball, and ended up kind of like with a bin which had like Garbo Man in it. So she was like dancing around with Garbo Man and kind of like ended up in like the dustbin with Garbo Man, and it was ludicrous. It was mental, but it was like to me that was like the best moment of the whole of Let's Play Live because it was just so like bizarre, but it was so funny, and I think that's one of the things that they can do in a tour that they can't do uh, on their channels is they can use like licensed content because it's not being broadcast out. So
Yeah, because it's for performance in
yeah,
a live setting rather than Fair enough. Cool. Cool.
so yeah,
Um.
my experience of Austin as a Guardian was great. The you have the usual pains of going out to Austin, which is the 10-hour flight either way. This year
Yeah.
they've added Norwegian, so actually that took uh 30% off the price of actually getting to and from Austin. So
Oh, nice.
that was good, but you're still left
Mhm.
with the boredom of what do you do uh, on the
Yeah.
flight. Thankfully,
Mhm.
nowadays I have my Nintendo Switch, and it meant that I could continue to put hours into a game, which I think I'm close to 70 hours now. So I've been playing Octopath Traveler,
Uh huh.
and it's it's a JRPG basically. I think it's the simplest way of putting it. It's
Okay.
turn-based combat. You have a party, and there are stories which you could for each of like the party members. But basically, kind of like the difference really is that you have there are 8 characters, hence the name like Octopath,
Mhm.
and you kind of like they're all kind of like main characters, so there isn't really a individual like main character.
Yeah.
Like you choose one to start off with to kind of almost be your main,
Mhm.
but effectively from then onwards, like when you go to a new city and you find or hear about a story about like an individual, you play a short story just as like this new character. Once you've done a little bit with that character, they then become part of the party, which you can choose to have in or out. So you have 4 people, and then you can choose to have, uh, yeah, which 4 are the ones you want to have to do like the rest of the things, and slowly work your way through. You kind of understand like the characters' stories. There's a little bit of like cross talking between the parties in certain scenarios. So if you have certain people, you'll see different discussions than if other people had different people for some uh, some of the quests. And it's just
Okay.
it's like 8-bit, 16-bit graphic, but it's
Mhm.
got like beautiful like the sound and the music is beautiful for me. And I just
Mhm.
find it's that good mix of nostalgic but something slightly new.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's just been easy to put time into it, and because it's turn-based combat, I can also do it a lot, play a lot of it while I'm doing other things as well, because you can just put it down and nothing will happen. Like you
Okay.
won't, you don't have to worry about like
That's what I
something
was going to
happening.
ask. Like, how does the combat handle? And like, if it's turn based, like, oh, that sounds like great. That sounds great. And, like, then you can plan strategically and have some fun.
Yeah, so yeah, you have it's your usual kind of like random encounter a lot of the time. So when you're walking in the open space, you get random encounters. Each
Mhm.
generally when you enter or exit an area, you get in the bottom left-hand corner, it'll tell you you've entered East Hill Mountain Range or whatever, and then it
Mhm.
will say level 45, and that will tell you that like the monsters that you're gonna meet in that area are like
Okay.
level 45, and so you can get to level 45 areas when you're like level 10, but you'll you can go walk and explore the map, but basically you'll get wiped out probably by the first random encounter if you
Okay.
do that.
Mhm.
And it's not one where you can like quick save. There are save points where
Okay.
you have to
Mhm.
save at, but usually before every major boss there is a save point like within usually like a minute or 30 seconds of the
Okay.
major bosses. But then the major boss battles are good 10, 15, 20-minute battles where you have to kind of
Nice.
work out the weaknesses and then start to produce some
Chip away
combos.
at them.
Yeah, chip aways and start to
Okay.
produce some combos between your individuals to
Mhm.
actually help and get them better. So, to
Okay.
me, it's a nice harken back to some of the older games that I used to play. Like I kind of partially touched like Final Fantasy when I was younger, so I played a few
Mhm.
of them. I played more things like Chrono Trigger on the SNES and
Mhm.
those games, and this is kind of it gives me the same sort of feeling for as that.
Ah, cool. Did you ever play Divinity Original Sin 2?
I've not played 2. I don't have a computer that's good enough for it,
Uh-huh.
but I have seen that it is coming out on, or either is out
It's
or is
coming on
coming.
Xbox One and PS4 at the end of the week that we're recording this. This isn't
Yeah.
coming out this week, so by the time this is out, the game will be out. I was
Yes.
only asking because I'm interested in potentially getting it. So it's just
I played the first one and I absolutely loved the first one.
okay.
The
Hmm.
I think it's so fantastic. It's so open world
Yeah,
that like it's one of those ones where you can fuck up missions before you even started them. Like it'll
yeah,
just be like, wait, as long as it's not like the essential quest mission, you can go and do. It'll be like, oh yeah, you need to go talk to Dave, and then like one of your talkback options will be like, oh, do you mean the guy who lives in the forest? Yeah, I killed him like 2 weeks ago. And it'll be like, okay, oh yeah, yeah, you can just end up kind of getting either completely ahead of yourself or could spend so much time talking to every individual in all of the towns and all the villages because they either have little quests or they have actually input to what you want or what you need to do. But then that's the original. That was still like turn-based combat, but it was like
hmm
3D like turn-based combat, so you could
yeah,
effectively get like ability or movement points and ability points where you could. It's more like D&D there, where kind of like you're moving. You can move a certain amount, but if you move
yeah,
too much, then you can't attack.
yeah. Hmm.
So I
No,
haven't checked
fair
whether
enough.
2 is going to be the same as that, but I assume it would, and it would be at a on a better scale and a larger
Yeah,
scale.
it looks interesting from what I've seen, but it's something that I'm definitely going to be looking into over the next week or so.
Yes,
See
well
whether
that's
it'd be
one
any
which
good.
is has I think 4-player co-op. So
Yeah, it does. So I'm like, that's one of the reasons I'm interested because yeah, I see that it's got the potential for co-op, and I'm just like, oh, that's probably good. That'll give something for me and Rachel to play if it's something that we both would find enjoyable. But what we've been playing at the moment is Path of Exile, which is another like top-down ARPG similar to Diablo, but it works on like a gem system. So you get gems that contain certain skills, and then you get other gems that can support the skills that you've got. So you can build up these chains up to like 6 gems with one main attack style gem plus 5 supports to it, and like build up these massively powerful attacks and things like that. And it's like got these different character classes. You've got like a witch who's a magic user, your hunter who's a bow and like ranged attack user, and a marauder who's a like strength big weapon hitting style character. And then you've got like 3 interstitial characters that play off each of the like intermediates between the 3 main classes.
yeah,
And then you've got another one that's a combination of all 3 styles. So
yeah, that's actually
it's
kind of one
interesting.
of similar sort of thing as in Octopath, which is actually really
Hmm.
good. So like the 8 characters are all 8 different classes,
Yeah.
but there are things you can do during the game, and everybody can get jobs. But what a
Hmm.
job basically is, you can get the class of somebody else. So you
Yes.
can start to match them up. And so there's then actually which ones are good ones to pair up.
Hmm.
So like there's one which I use, which is kind of like I paired up like the effectively the mage with the merchant, because the merchant has an ability which effectively halves the magic cost for everything that it does. So I was just like,
Hmm.
well, now this means that my mage can do its kick-ass moves twice as often without me
Yeah.
having to worry about running out of like well, I think it calls it special power instead of MP or whatever, but it's
Hmm.
SP. But yeah, you end up kind of trying to marry kind of certain things together. Like I ended up giving my warrior, the one who's effectively like the beast with doing physical damage, I gave
Hmm.
him like the hunter stuff as well, so he could use like a bow and an axe as well as a lance and a sword. So it's like this person is just like my like once the person is weak, he's like the DPS tank. He's the one person that he has an ability if you choose to give it to him where he can
Hmm.
go over 9,999 damage. Like it maxes out for everybody else at that, but if you give this one guy that ability, he can go over that. So it's like
Okay.
you almost like damage weak the person down, and then it's just like super massive powerful attack.
Nice, nice. Um, yeah, one of the things about Path of Exile is that it's just on the verge of being updated to a new, um, not a new game mode, but they're just about to go into version 3.4, whereas the version we've been playing for a while is 3.3, which was the Incursion League, which is where they had like a temple that was trapped in the past, and you essentially locate where it is in the reality of the game, and then you get teleported there, and you go through the temple. The Delve League is now like, oh, we've started seeing this resource turn up that you can burn, and we're gonna send you into an essentially infinite dungeon that you can go down and explore and get loot from, and just take things on. And it's just a very interesting way to like create an infinite expansive dungeon that can increase in difficulty massively and just provide a new interesting challenge to the game. But I'm saying all that like I've got to the end game of Path of Exile yet, which I have not. I've probably spent on PC. I've spent about 20 hours on console. Given that we've got to act 9 out of 10. We've probably put about 60 hours into that as well. And I've been spending a lot of time playing it, and I'm really looking forward to the Delve season started, so I can just go and have a good time and learn more about the game and pick it up in a point. But it's really heavily reliant on picking these certain gem skills and building your character around that. So
Yeah.
it's quite difficult to build up the game and get into it. But once you start understanding like how things interact, then you can start like putting your own builds together and saying,
Do
"Oh, this is the
you?
kind of thing that I need to do."
Is it almost like if you have your main gym and you have your small gyms around it? If you put a
Mhm.
small gym in, is that like permanent? Can you ever?
No, you can switch them out. Like
Oh, okay, yeah.
it's all socketed. You can move anything else out. So
Oh,
at the
okay.
moment, I've got some supports on one of the skills that I'm using that allow me to do certain things. They allow my minions to move quicker, but I actually want a gem that goes in there that gives my minions greater damage. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that in its place whenever that drops. So
Yeah.
random looty droppy game, shocking. I like
Yeah.
it.
Feels like that's your repartee. Well,
Yeah,
that's
pretty
almost
much.
exactly my nightmare because it's like I just sit there and just work out the numbers, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this now because this is basically telling me I've got to grind for 10 hours to get something I want, which is almost for me is just like, meh, game over.
Yeah, there's an item in Path of Exile that is awarded roughly one in every 10,000 hours played across the whole of the community.
Okay.
And Grinding Gears Games, the guys in New Zealand that developed the game, used to have an alert on it on the game so that when one dropped, they'd get a notification saying, "Hey, one's dropped in the game, woo!" And it'd happen every 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
But it was incredibly rare that they dropped. And I was like, "Oh, this is insane that they've got this item that is just so rare." But
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd probably say for going back to Octopath, I think one of the best things about this game is that I've never had to grind at any point. I think that
Hmm.
if you effectively each character has like a stage one and a stage two and then like a stage three, and I'm like part way through doing like the stage three for like which one was like the final bits for most of them. And I've
Yeah.
never got to the point where I've gone, I can't win a fight, I have to go out and grind to kind of get it to do that. Saying that, there was one character which had an ability which is effectively I think it's called like Bewildering Gaze, and it just basically says who knows what happens when you use this ability. So I was kind of like, as being somebody I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to use this ability then, because this is probably going to be like, sometimes it'll be good or sometimes it'll be bad. Until I
Mhm.
saw somebody comment on like a Polygon article or whatever, saying that, yeah, like it could take all of your team down to 1 HP, it can remove all of your magic, but it can also increase XP gained by 2 or 5 or 10 or 100
Mhm.
in a fight. And then I was going like, well, I've got to now mess around with this to kind of see if this would see like what this actually works like and what like the percentage is. So I went into an area which was quite well below like what my characters were. So like even if we did get like one of the effects where it like halves your health, it still doesn't really matter. Like I'll
Yeah.
survive the encounter. And
Mhm.
it was just watching it kind of go like, oh yeah, I got one where it just like I got the times 100 XP, And
Hmm.
it was just like, well, that actually means that that's probably the reason why I never needed to grind, because 4 of my characters got about 5 levels ahead of where they needed to
Okay.
be. But it was just like, yeah, I then read up and it was like, yeah, it was like I think it's about a 1 in 3,000 chance of using it. And I was kind
Okay.
of like, yeah, I probably had used it about 400 times because you can stack it effectively. So
Yeah.
you can almost like cast it like 4 times at the same time. So I was
Okay.
doing that for a few fights, and when I knew I was going to survive, I was just like, "Fuck it, let's just see what happens." Because you
Nice.
can you do random damage and random like effects, like you can blind people, you can poison people, but pretty much every good effect can also exactly happen the same to your team as well.
Yeah. Fair
I
enough. Fair
like that
enough.
it's been included as a variable that somebody could choose to kind of mess around and play around with. I saw somebody written an article that they effectively took a boss down to like 100 health out of like 100,000,
Hmm.
and just spent the whole time like spamming this ability, like not killing off the bad guy, just kind of like having the health person just continuously heal everybody and
Yeah.
just spamming this special ability until they got like the times 10, or if
Hmm.
they were to get the times 100, they would have been happy, but they got the times 10 XP, and it was just like, okay, everybody gets 4 extra levels.
Nice. Nice. Cool. That's a game I might look into. I just saw a trailer earlier today for Dragon Quest 11, and I was
Yes.
just like, this looks rubbish, but at the same time, if I were to play it, I'd probably enjoy it. Mm.
So I read a quick article on Polygon about it today,
Uh-huh.
and effectively, like the individual who wrote it said, if you've played any of the Dragon's Quest previously and you like them, you will like this game. It is
Mm.
unabashedly like a traditional JRPG, but
Hmm.
it's actually fairly linear, even though it kind of portrays to be like an open world. It's actually a
Yeah.
fairly linear open world where you can go forward in your line, but you can go back in your line, but you can't really go forward anywhere else, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Like,
Hmm.
but if they were like, everything is here, it's kind of like you'll either think it's nostalgia for good or nostalgia for bad. Like, if you like the stuff before, you probably will like it, but if you don't like the stuff before, it's not the game for you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll probably have a look into it, but yeah, there's a few things. There's just so many games coming up, and I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
I'll probably keep playing the same old games that I always play because that's kind of how I work at the moment.
yeah. You'll
But
you'll play your kind of co-op multiplayer grind fests, and I'll
mhm.
I'll play my single player RPG games and work my way through that. I think
Yeah,
the rest of this year is looking particularly well for my type of
yeah.
games, with Spider-Man coming, with Red Dead Redemption 2 coming,
Hmm.
with um,
Well, there's
Assassin's
the
Creed
Spyro trilogy
Odyssey.
coming as well. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Fallout 76 is coming. That looks all right, but I don't really know
That's
where I
one of the
stand on that and whether to get it or not. But,
Yeah, it's kind of, I love the Fallout universe and the Fallout type of games. Like I remember uh my dad showing me, I think it was Fallout 2,
mhm.
and we us kind of like playing that together. And I really enjoyed that, and I've played like 3 and New Vegas and 4, and
Mhm.
I've enjoyed like the worlds which they build and how the things interact.
Yeah.
But once again, they're single player games. You can choose to build and develop that world as you fear, and you can generally do it in your own time without having to kind of think about being rushed.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel that once you're in an open world which has other individuals potentially in it. Now, I don't
Mhm.
know, I've not really looked into enough to know whether you can do like private servers, so you can do like just you and your friends. If you could do that, then it might be a great game as far as I'm concerned. If
I
there are
think that initially there's not going to be that capability, but it'll be something that will be added later,
yeah,
just because they want to get that social aspect of the game
yeah,
where you could be working against someone who's kind of rogue. But
yeah. I read stuff about like their bounty system, which they've pretty kind of they've gone hard on, kind of like if you start killing people and messing with other people, there'll be bounties put on your head, and you will be
mhm.
clearly marked on the map for
Mhm.
everybody else, and they won't be marked on the map, and the bounty will then come out of your coins and your pockets. So it's not
Mhm.
like just a random in-game bounty will be generated, and like the game would then pay people for doing it. So you can you will take losses for potentially doing this. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the online gamer well enough now to know whether that would actually change their behavior or not, or whether it would almost
Yeah.
goad it on more to kind of go like King of the Hill style, kind of get a load of things and then sit at the top of the hill like murdering people, going, "You all know where I am. Come, take it from me."
Uh-huh. Fair enough. Fair enough. Cool.
But I
Cool.
do like
Well.
that world, and I do like this potential initial concept is so it's earlier on than basically any of the other Fallout
Yeah.
games of
Mhm.
where it's been. So you're a much newer wasteland
Mhm.
to interact with. So that should hopefully actually it may not even mean super mutants because
I don't know if they would have had enough time to develop.
yeah, because they were done by the guy in the mad person in some Fallout 1, I think, or whether it
Yeah.
was Fallout 2, I can't remember. But
Mhm.
you should get
I
some
was
feral ghouls
watching.
or rad scorpions and
Yeah, I was watching some of the who did the videos? Austin on Game Theorists.
yeah,
He's done some Fallout ones recently. Um, I think I think it was recently about how would the rest of the world fare if all of the nukes went off. So
yeah.
yeah, that
I
was
think this.
really interesting. Just like
Oh yeah, they're usually good ones to watch. And then there's the one in the game that I'm slowly waiting to come and see, but obviously gonna effectively attempt to avoid anything about it, which is Cyberpunk 2070,
2077.
2077.
Yeah,
Which is just like I I think we've said it before, and I'll say again, I'm 100% going to play that game when it
yeah,
comes out.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's effectively I want to know nothing because it's like you want everything to be viewed for the first time. I saw that people clamored that they wanted to see the demo that all the media had seen, so they put up the 48-minute demo,
mm-hmm.
but they were like, "We need to tell you that this is not necessarily the final product," because everybody got upset with Witcher 3 when they showed them this pretty clean, crisp demo, but when you
Yeah,
actually played the game, it wasn't that good quality, and they were like, "Well, yeah, because it wasn't finalized, and we kind of realized that we couldn't keep up the fidelity that we wanted
yeah,
in the final product." So
yeah. Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know where I stand on it, but I know that it's gonna be massive. So yeah. Well, Russell, where can we find you across the internet as we wrap this up for today?
you can find me at rsism on Twitter and Russman2k on many other gaming websites. If you go to my Twitter at the moment, you'll probably catch me writing about baseball. So
Fair enough.
that
Fair
that
enough.
is that will probably bore off a significant number of viewers.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I can be found across the internet at Destroy Top and What. I kind of haven't tweeted or posted on anything on Instagram for weeks or months now, other than like automatically generated tweets. Maybe I'm going to try and address that soon, but we'll see how that goes. But cool, Russell. Thank you for being my guest this week.
Thank you very much for having me, good sir.
You're welcome, and thank you everyone for listening. Have an exciting week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.